Hello again, welcome back to the Escape. So it's finally the turn of the Mazda now. If you've seen the video from a few weeks ago, I took the engine out of the MX5. I think it was actually quite a few weeks ago. And I forgot to put that under there. Rebuilt it, entire bottom end, new head gasket, new timing chain, new oil pump, and every little thing in between, as you'll have probably seen. Now we've got the engine sat there, there's no spark plugs in it at the moment. I have plugs, new oil filter, and the new rear main seal. Just because we're in there, it's good measures to just change it while we're in there because it saves taking out, obviously, the clutch and flywheel and all that kind of stuff again. So today we're going to make a start on it. We're going to get the spark plugs in first, get the engine off the stand, and we'll put in the new rear main seal. So once we get that in, it'll be a lot closer to ready to go back in the car, which once I've done this, I'll have to drag the car out of the corner onto the ramp and start putting it back in, which is fun on your own. Subframe off, it's one of those jobs, so use your imagination. But right, let's do it. Right then, plugs and coil packs are back in. Obviously I didn't show you that because nobody wants to see coil packs and plugs going in because it's kind of boring. So I'm going to move the engine onto the crane now and get the rear main seal onto it, and then just because you can't do it there, and then obviously flywheel, clutch, and then we'll put the gearbox back on it as well before we move the car out. Okay, so car's forwards on the ramp. I've unbolted the subframe. That's just sat on the floor now. So next thing to do is lift the car away from it. The reason I didn't film that was because the camera's just been on charge. It's a little bit flat. I didn't charge it up for this. If you've seen the other video on my recovery truck, that was just yesterday. So I didn't charge the camera up last night because I was so tired. But engine and gearbox is all done. I've now put those two little nuts on. There's one more bolt to go in the bottom. I'll do that when I lift it off the floor. Relocated the strap so it's now on the front engine eye and done a lap of the gearbox at that point there. Should do a little bit more for balance. Other than that, we are pretty much ready to go upwards with this and leave the subframe on the floor. We take all these bolts off because I marked all the bags when I took it apart. I just had to wipe the front of the car off a little bit too, just because it was so dusty. But that should now come away. Let's see. The calipers just fell off the ramp at that side. Yeah, brake pipe just got wedged on there. But there's no issue. We'll put that on there, as we were. Send the car up. There we go. Now we've got a nice working height to get the engine mounted onto the subframe and obviously back up onto the car. So that's going to be my next step. Okay, so little update. This is where we're at right now. Camera went flat again, so I had to balance it out. It's in roughly the right place. It's mounted to the subframe, and I'm using this to balance it, and it's going up on the jack. So next step is to bring the car down and start lining up all these subframe mounting holes and see where the wiring tries to go and how much of it we can do on the car, because it was a little while since I took it off and I can't quite remember how it went, but we'll figure it out. So quick update, I managed to get everything in the hull. It's the frame's bolted in, but the engine's nowhere near bolted in yet. Obviously it's mounted to the subframe, so all the little mounts are back on, the suspension's in place obviously. Took a little bit to and fro, and then I realised about the starter motor. Anyone who's done one of these before will know that to get the starter motor in, you have to take either the oil cooler out or have the engine quite a bit lower down. I didn't fancy dropping the oil cooler off if I could help it, just because I didn't want the seal to be an issue on one thing or another. So I decided to leave that in place and work around it, drop the engine back down a bit, and I managed to get it in with a little bit of skill and magic and wizardry. So that's how. Now I've just got to connect the million things that make the entire engine and gearbox worthwhile. So that's my next step. Okay, quick update. I've got loads of it now back in there. Even all the front stuff, the radiator's in the bottom. I think all the wiring's on, barring obviously the battery that's not in there, and there's a couple of little bits and pieces underneath. Next thing to do is I kind of need to just figure out a few odds and ends underneath, and I can't remember if I drained the gearbox or not, so I need to do anything like check it or fill it or whatever you can do on these cars. I don't really know. The shifter's still off inside. There's about an inch of dust in there too, as you can see on all these windows. So that pokes it from the bottom, obviously. But there's a lot more to do in there. So hopefully at some point really soon, we'll be able to actually crank it. As I said, I just want to make sure there's oil in everything before I even try it, just in case. You know, yeah. So that's where I'm at. Okay, so that took about an hour. I had to take the starter motor off, clean up the earth on it, and when I tried it off the car, it actually worked. So I've put it back on. We'll turn it over again. Now I've put everything back together and we'll see what happens. See if we can build some oil pressure. Before we go any further, make sure we've got no leaks. Right, no leaks. Let's go again. Don't like that. Okay, so this is what happened. It started. I actually got the engine running by accident. While I was trying to build the oil pressure up, I plugged the laptop in because it wasn't reading on the gauge, which I showed you. And because between one thing and another, trying to get tests through the laptop and stuff, I left the coil packs plugged in. And when I went to start it back up again to try and build pressure, it started immediately and oil pressure shot up to where it was going. So maybe some of you already knew that that was going to happen. So maybe somebody already knew that, you know, the gauge doesn't read anything until the engine's running, which I didn't know. I thought it's an oil pressure gauge. It will tell me what I need to know, but it didn't. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a startup. What I'll do, just to make that easier, I'll put the battery back on. Don't want to show you the other car yet. Right. There's no coolant in this yet, but there we go. So there you go. As you see, she starts off nice, which I'm pretty impressed with. So that's that. I'm going to do some tests, put some coolant in it, and just make sure it's all right. Right, there we go. Back on the proper camera now. So as you see, this is done. This is running. I've got a few little bits and pieces tidy up. I need to change the battery on it because that's not for that car. That's a Honda battery, I think it was. What else was it? Calipers need to go back on. A few odds and ends to finish up, and then obviously all that's come off it, and I'm going to take it outside for a wash, but that'll be all in another video. Now, there is another video which I'm going to shoot right now, so I'm going to finish this one here, and if you just spotted it behind me as I walked over there, or if you spotted in one of the other clips, I don't really know, I'll find out when I edit it, I guess, you'll see that there's at least one new car, and if you've made it to the end of this video, I'm going to tell you that there's 2 new cars coming to the channel. And one of them in particular I'm really excited about. And it's actually not that one over there, but I'm going to leave this video here. Make sure you subscribe. There's a lot more to come. And thank you for watching. See you soon.